Testing, testing. I think so. Hey everybody, if anyone's out there, we're testing our live streaming, and if you're here, oh, there's people saying hello. No, Bitcoin's not dead. Hey everybody, wow, it's like already 11 people here. This is crazy. This is our first live stream. If you can hear me, can you hear me? Is there audio? Sound is off. Hey everybody, wow, it's like already 11 people here. This is crazy. This is our first live stream. Okay, so I just muted my own speakers. Let's see what's going on in the chat. So, no audio. Hello. Hey, Gary. Oh, now it works. UK. What's up, UK? What's up, Poland? What's cracking? Bitcoin's not dead. What's on the agenda today? We are testing the live stream. We are live streaming on Facebook. We're about to go live on Facebook now. Let's see how this works. Facebook, live stream, description, content tags, Bitcoin, Ethereum, blockchain, and start broadcast on Facebook. Let's see what we have. And going back over the chat, what's cracking? It's on the agenda. Shout out to Poland, shout out to the UK. Sound is off. Can anyone confirm if they can hear me? Hello, I can hear. Belgium says hello. Kramer on Mad Money said Bitcoin is dead though. Those guys are trying to figure out Bitcoin. They're trying to figure out what is Bitcoin, what is blockchain. And the major problem with the people on CNBC and traditional financial analysts is that they're trying to understand this brand new technology, and they're trying to fit it into the semantics and, you know, the box of the traditional financial world, right? And so it's very, very difficult. It's like trying to explain telephones to people who are used to the Pony Express, or it's trying to explain, you know, spaceships, or not spaceships, but airplanes in the sky to someone 2,000 years ago. Yeah, so shout out to Callie. They can hear me. Audio keeps cutting out every couple of seconds. Good audio. Yes, he's a crazy guy. Kramer's dog. I've never met or seen Kramer's dog. I haven't watched his show that much to have met his dog. I'm sure it's cool. 17 people. Hey everybody. So anybody on Facebook? I wonder if Facebook people can see me. Hey Otto, are you out there? I'm about to try to add Periscope and Twitter. Cool. Where can you see me? The audio goes only when you speak. When you don't speak, the audio shuts off. Is that super annoying? Can you live stream on Library? We've been having some problems with Library. We've been having emails back and forth with those guys, and we are super excited about Library. And as soon as it can connect with our channel on YouTube and, you know, start syncing the videos, then we'll be uploading every video to Library. Increasing the volume. How do we increase the volume? All right, cool. So with that being said, I guess we'll start talking about some news, start taking a look around and see what's happening, go over some articles that that we were going to talk about in yesterday's video. We can go over those today, see what's happening in the world of Bitcoin, blockchain, and all of that awesome information. If anyone has any problems with the live chat, then simply just let us know in a comments box below, and we'll try to be paying attention to what's being said and you know, what's happening, because this is the first time we've ever done a live stream. We consistently get kicked off of our ability to live stream from YouTube. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. And so there's been over 6 months that we haven't been able to live stream, so this is the first time for us, and we're hoping that we can deliver instant information, have interaction with these live stream chats, which I'm hoping are going to be super fun. And then we can cut up these videos and make them shorter videos, short videos on the normal Minting Coins YouTube station. And so with that being said, let's start taking a look at the market, see what's happening in the news, and let's discuss. All right, so let me just refresh on this page over here at coinmarketcap.com. See where we're at in this world. Pulling this up. Living in a world with over 1,339 different cryptocurrencies. Total market capitalization is over $0.4 trillion. That's $0.4 trillion. In other words, it's over $400 million. And how fast we've reached this point has been incredible. And I think what's going to happen, you know, what we're going to see in through the rest of December, and what we're going to see for sure into the first half of 2018, is this number swelling and exceeding $1 trillion. And it's going to be exceeding $1 trillion very, very soon. It can definitely happen in the first quarter of 2018. But just expect that there's going to be a ton of volatility. There's going to be huge market swings in terms of prices of all coins going up and down. And you know, it's really risky if you're a trader. It's really risky if you're trying to time the market. I think it's dangerous if you're trying to short blockchain technology, especially if you're trying to short Bitcoin. And it's going to be really interesting to see where that goes. We'll probably talk about the futures and what's going to be happening with the future situation soon. So the past 24-hour volume, you know, $2 billion, $5 billion, $6 billion was average. When we were seeing this trading volume a few weeks ago, around 13 billion, you know, 15 billion, that area, that was high. And so the fact that now we're at $22 billion, at least historically speaking in the cryptocurrency industry, this is just a lot of money that's going in and out just in a 24-hour time period. It wasn't that long ago when, you know, just a year ago when Ethereum was less than $1 billion, all of these were less than $1 billion. And now you have to have at least $1 billion, you know, practically to be in the top 20 just about. And so out of this $400 billion market cap, BTC dominates 62%. Just, we're at $250 billion, over $250 billion for the amount of money that's going inside Bitcoin. And because the Bitcoin, there's so much money inside Bitcoin, when you see 7% up or 7% down in terms of Bitcoin swing, let alone double digits, that's just a lot of money. It's important that we recognize that's a lot of money as opposed to 7% of a coin that has a much lower market cap. So where are we here? So past 24-hour trading volume for Bitcoin alone is $13 billion. And what's going to happen, what I think is going to happen, is that once these futures markets come online, these are going to be, in some ways, in a lot of ways, institutional investors, traditional investors, hedge fund managers. And there was an awesome video that we just watched the other day through someone's channel. It was a talk from Andreas Antonopoulos. Let's see here. What do we have here? If you go to Twitter, you can check this out. Let's see if we can find where that was. It's this tweet right here about the CME Group launching Bitcoin's futures and the world's leading derivatives market for buyers and sellers. And so Andreas goes into this video. He talks about his position and how he is a non-paid advisor for the CME. And he talks about the need that there is for futures markets in terms of food and wheat and water and situations like that, in terms of allowing different producers to hedge their risk. So by some chance, if the market was to go down, they wouldn't lose as much money, and perhaps they would actually make a little bit of money. And knowing that they're probably going to lose what they're hedging, but that hedge is there in case something crazy does happen. If the prices of something in the supply chain go up and down, that affects the price of, that good, that asset, that commodity, then it just hedges for the risk of that happening. And so there's a really important movie that I recommend that you go see. It's called The Big Short. Has a bunch of top actors in it. Who is it? Steve Carell, Brad Pitt. A bunch of really awesome actors, and they all come and they talk about the housing market crash back in between, starting when these guys saw that there was a bubble and they recognized that there was a huge concern. Maybe that was around 2005. And for the next 3 years, setting up the financial instruments to allow them to short the housing market. And what that did for those, now billionaire people who were able to get their hands on those investments in time and were able to put money toward them. It's pretty sure one of the ways that Mark Cuban received all of his $1 billion was by shorting the housing market and selling those derivatives, that short, at just incredible gains. And so definitely go check out the Big Short. Watch it, a couple times. It's sort of a really heavy movie. It's a hard movie for, most people to get the first time. It's taken me 10 times watching it, and I still don't get it 100%. There's tons of clips on YouTube. You can just put those clips on auto repeat, because that movie is a great way for everyday people to understand what happened in a past scenario and how that could be applied to a future scenario. With Bitcoin and the futures and the CMEs, in terms of those being, I would think, extremely dangerous for anybody to short right now, it's possible that after Bitcoin is north of $100,000, that a situation could be set up that some people could make, some significant gains by shorting Bitcoin. And watching The Big Short and relating that and what happened with the housing market to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies can, help give you a very basic understanding of what that means to short the market. What are those risks involved? How are the different players across the chessboard who don't always give the information as other people perceive that information to be truth? And what's really interesting now with blockchain technology is that blockchain technology is this single source of truth, this centralized, decentralized truth that everyone is trusting individually peer-to-peer. And in some ways, in some systems, the way to manipulate the markets is going to have to fundamentally change if people are able to find ways to manipulate the markets. It's not going to be through the technology that's open source, decentralized, where everyone understands, how that technology works, where it's not closed, it's not hidden, it doesn't have rules that people aren't aware of it. That's why open source technology is the technology that is going to be trusted in the future, because open source technology is going to be the technology that anybody can verify, anybody can look at. It's going to be more than the 7 people who have been developing it, or the 100 people who have been developing it. You have thousands of people with who knows how many fresh eyes looking at that code, looking for vulnerabilities, reinforcing its strength. And so open source is going to be what really progresses forward in the future, in our opinion. And then also what's decentralized is going to be super popular as well. So going back over to CoinMarketCap, seeing where we're at. Yeah, you know, I think something else I just wanted to point out, you know, everyone's been really excited about the Litecoin price and how the Litecoin price has shot up to $154. This was, you know, super obvious as this was going to happen, at least from our perspective, my perspective, and this is from my perspective, not as a trader. You know, have been historically watching the price of Litecoin, and Litecoin has been traditionally between, especially over the past year, between 1 and 1.5% that of Bitcoin. And so where Litecoin has been over the past few weeks or month or so since Bitcoin has had this incredible rise is that Litecoin has been about 0.75 you know, percent, not even 1% that of Bitcoin. And so for Litecoin to reach that 1%, it's actually at that 1% now exactly. That's actually kind of interesting. $15,400, and then the price of Litecoin $154. So this is at 1% now. And so if this increased, you know, to $225, I completely wouldn't be surprised. But then I'd also expect that it would probably dip below that. You know, the point of all this is just to recognize that if you're new to the space, or if you're not new to the space, but you're looking at how much money you're making in terms of the dollars, you really want to consider looking at your portfolio in terms of the total Bitcoin price. You want to recognize that right now, the price of Litecoin to Bitcoin is just under 1%. The price of Dash to Bitcoin is 4.5% that of Bitcoin. And these are the equations, these are the benchmarks when you're trying to understand the value within the cryptocurrency space, and you are getting involved in Bitcoin, you're getting involved in Ethereum or Litecoin or any of these different tokens. You want to pay very, very close attention. You know, all the Bitcoin Cash supporters out there, not sure if any of you guys are in the room, but with the Bitcoin Cash folk, people have been really excited about it going up, and then there have been some price falls and some price increases. But if you look at this price in terms of the Bitcoin to 0.085, this is not as high as it has been, right? It's been as high as 0.24, 0.25, you know, give or take around there. And so while some people are looking at the Bitcoin Cash price versus the Bitcoin price and the Ethereum price and comparing that to dollars, the point is that you really want to be benchmarking yourself against Bitcoin. Do not be benchmarking yourself against dollars. There's lots of reasons why that is. We've done several videos about the dollar. Definitely go check those out. So let's go check out the chat, see what's happening over here. Food Coin. Good movie, Big Short. Best scene is where the stripper says at the poll that she has 6 houses in Florida. Yeah, I think one of my favorite scenes is when Steve Carell is talking to the real estate guys, and the real estate guys are bragging, and he says, you know, let me take a second to talk to my colleagues over here. And he asks his colleagues, why are these guys confessing? And they go, he's not confessing, he's bragging, because people didn't even understand what was happening. Do you watch the Charlie Lee interview on Glenn Beck? Very refreshing to see an open-minded, non-judgmental exchange between them. Yeah, we actually, you know, I saw that, and you know, it's really interesting to see the questions that people have and the comparisons that they're making, and that just goes to the point that we were making earlier today, is that the comparisons that people have to Bitcoin are going to be compared to dollars, they're going to be compared to the stock market, they're going to be compared to gold, they're going to be compared to tulips. But the problem is that none of these compare. None of these come close to being able to compare, because the principles, the foundation, the dynamics, the features, the utility of this blockchain technology is unlike anything anyone has ever seen before. may have some, analogies with existing systems, but that's where it ends. This is a whole new, life form in some ways. This is something that's going to grow. This is something that's going to evolve. This is something that's going to adapt. When people first created the internet, they created the internet without domain names. It was just sending simple text. I don't, maybe they had wild imaginations, but I don't think that from the 1.0 version of TCP/IP or that 1.0 version of HTML even, that they could really foresee the extreme future of everyone being interconnected with a full, browser live video across the world. And right now, people are not aware of what's happening with Bitcoin or what's happening even with Ethereum, is that these are first level protocols. What does that mean? That means that these are systems of infrastructure. These are layers of infrastructure onto the current World Wide Web, which is at the same time its own sort of decentralized internet, and other applications are going to be built on top of this. Other applications are going to be built on top of Ethereum. We talked about the second layer applications a lot. In the world of Ethereum, it's Coco from Microsoft, or you have Radian, or what do you have? Plasma, obviously the big one. Over on the Bitcoin side, you have Lightning Network. And these second layer protocols, and even the tokens that are sitting on top of Ethereum, all of this growth is going to weave its way through people's lives, through society, first through businesses, and then through consumers. And it might get to a point where you have some sort of utility token that does who knows what, but ultimately it's going to make every other layer of the technology worth that much more, right? And so at the core, you have Bitcoin. At the core, you have Ethereum. At the core, you have what other, Ethereum killers or Bitcoin killers are seeking to exist. But the network effect of the growth of these applications, the network effect of the growth of the secondary layer applications, the network effect of the growth of all of the existing companies using the technology is just feeding into a system of which we can't even possibly imagine the future. What's going on? People losing large amounts of Bitcoin, disappearing wallets, lost passwords, Bitcoin being lost between transactions, people having wallets and dying. The next Mount Gox. It could be. Absolutely. I would not feel comfortable having, practically any amount of cryptocurrency on Coinbase. If that is backed, if the money in your Coinbase account is backed, then if they have like insurance, like an FDIC insurance on the Bitcoin in your Coinbase account, someone can fact check me on this, but it's probably FDIC insured to the value of USD, not to the value denominated in Bitcoin. And so if that Bitcoin is stolen, at the point that it's stolen, that's the point at which you would get repaid. And so if the price of Bitcoin was to, shoot up, then, that wouldn't be a good situation for anybody. Ryan Gosling, yeah. Let's see what we have. Thanks everybody for hanging out. This is really cool as we're testing this. Not really sure how this looks. I can't wait to check this out later to see how this looks on YouTube, how this looks on Facebook, how this looks on Twitter. If you have any questions, let us know. If you want to come and see what we're doing beyond just these YouTube videos, and you can come check us out at mintingcoins.com. Also, we have this new Discord channel. you want to come check out this new Discord channel that we have for minting coins in our community over here, talking about happenings in the space, then you know, I definitely recommend you come, you know, check that out. I can actually shoot you an invite in the chat room. Give me a second, I can make one of those. I definitely welcome everyone to come check us out over at Discord, and this is where, you know, we're putting all of our notes and we're putting all of our thoughts, and this is where we are, yeah, building a community and sharing a lot of information, so definitely come check us out over there. Yeah, I don't think Coinbase is going to allow people to play with their own private keys. I think Coinbase really likes the ability for them to have that level of control, but at the same time, it could be a really smart move just to give people that next level of control. No Telegram channel. No, we're going to focus on Discord. Telegram lacks a lot of the interaction. Slack is really insecure for people, so we don't want to have Slack for our community. And Discord really has a lot of options and really has a lot of security features, and so Discord is where we decided to go. If Coinbase was smart, they would create the means to allow users access to private. Yeah, they absolutely will. They might do that later as a huge news PR event. You know, it's really, really interesting, you know, when we see companies like Shapeshift and when we see companies like Coinbase, because what is Shapeshift doing? Shapeshift is a centralized exchange. Coinbase is a centralized exchange. And where is the future going? Where are we, you know, what are we hearing about? We're hearing about decentralized exchanges. And so if decentralized exchanges is a way of the future, then where does that leave Coinbase? Where does that leave Shapeshift? I suppose with Coinbase, people still need to exchange from the USD or the fiat into the cryptocurrency. But in terms of people keeping their money on Coinbase, everybody knows, and that's not true, everybody doesn't know, but everybody should know that if you don't own your private keys, if you don't have control of your private keys, then it's not your Bitcoin. Not your private keys, not your Bitcoin. If you have your private keys and someone else has access to those private keys, then everyone has access to those private keys, has the ability to send that Bitcoin out of that address and into another address. In the case of a multi-sig wallet, then of course you need to have, you know, whatever the rules are, if it's 3 out of 5 or 5 out of 7 or 3 out of 7 or however you set up that wallet, it's still to the same point. You need to have your keys or it's not your Bitcoin. And currently everything that's happening through Coinbase, none of it is your Bitcoin because you do not have access to your keys. And again, if anything happens to that piggy bank, then if it's insured, it's probably only insured to the FDIC value, and that value would be in USD unless someone can tell me otherwise. So thank you very much. Down to earth. Thank you very much. Is this an I, Ian? Rocket Chat. Yeah, I guess I suppose I should look into Rocket Chat. Discord. Yeah, send us an email why you say Discord is a virus. That'll be. Then IOTA, yeah, people, you know, there's been a lot of news about IOTA. And people have been making a ton of money on it, and to that effect, you know, what can I say? People have been making a ton of money on it. In terms of the technology, it's definitely possible that over time that the IOTA technology is going to get vetted and improved. There might be reasons for different companies to partner with IOTA. I know that there's been a lot of questions about if the partnerships that they have been talking about recently, that people have been talking about recently, if those partnerships are real or not. You know, there's been a lot of bad press about IOTA, about their code, about, you know, you even have Edward Snowden calling out IOTA, you know, and how it just puts people's lives at risk if you don't have good cryptographic, you know, proven, tested, peer-reviewed code. It's very dangerous, according to Edward Snowden, if you know, people just create this sort of level of cryptography from scratch. And because of that, you know, there have been some instances which haven't looked good for IOTA. And I think personally it leaves a lot of questions in, you know, the back of my mind about the long-term viability and integrity of the coin, more so than the fact that it's just, you know, in the top 10 and super affordable, because that's what I think is happening. People are just seeing it's cheap. They're seeing it's in the top 10. They're knowing it's going to go up. Then they're pumping it. And then, you know, the people who know what's up, those people are dumping it. That's what I think about that. Yeah, I don't know. I can't substantiate anything about IOTA and the IOTA coin. So I do know that this is where a lot of people are at. It's what a lot of people are feeling. And a lot of people are just experiencing the FOMO, and the FOMO is real, and the FOMO hurts, and the FOMO is deep. And I feel so bad if you feel the FOMO. FOMO's no good. Yeah, that's how the FOMO makes you feel. That's how making a bad trade makes you feel. That's what it feels like to buy Bitcoin and then to watch like Litecoin to go up, and then to put your money into Litecoin, and then, you know, and then to watch Litecoin lose a little bit of value from where they jumped in. You know, just people jumping in, chasing whatever they think the high is. People need to, you know, stop, you know, freaking out or making decisions, or, you know, having fear of missing out, fear of, you know, being in the wrong thing at the wrong time. If people just put their money in and just hold, then more than likely everything is going to be fine, right? And why do I think that? I look at situations like back in the housing market in 2008. And in 2008, people lost everything. People lost their whole life savings. People lost, you know, 90% of their portfolios. And a lot of those people who lost everything and they saw those huge drops in the price, those people took all their money out of the stock market. They put it into gold, or they put it into cash. And since then, the stock market has increased more than it ever has before. And since then, inflation has increased more than it ever has before. And, you know, the same thing is now happening with Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is spiking up. Everyone throws their money in, and then Bitcoin falls down. Everyone's freaking out. And people just need to learn to buy and hold. People need to understand that the market is going to go up, the market is going to go down. China is going to ban Bitcoin, then they're going to not ban Bitcoin, and then someone else is going to ban Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin is going to be illegal, and then Bitcoin is going to be not illegal, and all of this is going to be adding some fear and uncertainty and confusion to the market to bring the price of Bitcoin down, so the people who understand the irrational psychology of the market, you know, those people are going to be the ones who are buying low, and then those are going to be the people who are selling high, all in an effort to obtain more Bitcoin at the expense of, you know, the greater fool, at the expense of everyone else who is being emotionally triggered to sell when, you know, when maybe they should either be doing nothing, right? And so this is all information for you to check out. None of this is financial advice. I don't even really recommend trading because it's so risky, and you have to be totally committed and know what you want to do and to follow through with that. But yeah, the markets go up, the markets go down. The total supply of Bitcoin is limited to 21 million Bitcoin. There's currently about 16.7 million Bitcoins. In about 2.5 years, the number of new Bitcoin that gets created is going to get cut in half, from 12.5 Bitcoins to 6.25 Bitcoins. And so the supply of new Bitcoins is going to decrease in 2.5 years. And the demand for Bitcoin either stays the same or increases, then the value of the Bitcoin, according to that law of supply and demand, would therefore increase. And so, yeah, I'm just doing some basic economics. I'm just doing some basic reading. I'm just doing some basic research over here. And, you know, so I suppose where I put in my opinion and my speculation and my commentary is that personally, I think the demand of Bitcoin is going to go up. I think that for every one person that says Bitcoin is a fraud, there's 1,000 people who are going to demand it. And for every person that says that Bitcoin is going to crash and they're not buying Bitcoin, A, I don't believe them. And B, there's 1,000 people who are the opposite end of the spectrum of them. And what's more is that how long do you expect it's going to be until there's another financial crash? How long do you expect it's going to be until there's some sort of bubble, some sort of economic downturn, some sort of correction or recession or depression, where people recognize that the cost of money is going up, the ability to repay the loans are going down, the wages are not keeping up, inflation is increasing, and restlessness, you know, gets to a point where it does every 10 or 15 or 20 years. When that happened in 2008, people didn't have any alternative. People didn't have anywhere to go to. Maybe they had gold. But the situation with gold is that gold is centralized. It's you know, it's sort of like Bitcoin, because if you have gold, if you know where gold comes out of the ground, and if you take that gold out of the ground, then it's not as if you have some sort of securities exchange contract with the earth, right? You don't have like some sort of contract with the earth. It's gold in the ground and you took it out of the ground. But once you take that gold out of the ground, if you want to take that gold and buy and sell it, now there's all sorts of laws around that gold. Now you're a company buying and selling this asset. It's not like you're performing a service and you're getting paid. It's you're buying and selling the commodity itself. And so gold is centralized if people want to buy and sell the amount of gold. And how much gold there is in the world, no one can really say, right? I mean, there could be gold that people know about. There could be gold that people don't know about. And no one knows what that new supply of gold is going to be into the market. And on top of that aspect of gold, you know, you also have paper derivatives of gold, you know, pieces of paper that might not even have any gold on them, but they say that they're a piece of gold. And you see with Bitcoin, there's only so many Bitcoins. And so you can be in the futures market and you can buy a futures contract for, you know, 5 Bitcoins or 100 Bitcoins. But, you know, first of all, in the futures contract, if you're someone that's selling 100 Bitcoins at one price, there needs to be someone else who's buying those Bitcoins at that price. And so everything needs to be 1-for-1 ratioed. So for every buyer, there needs to be a seller. But in terms of the actual number of Bitcoins that there are or will ever be, that is completely defined. An actual Bitcoin on a blockchain is an actual Bitcoin on a blockchain. And so when you're pulling that Bitcoin, you know, out of the, you know, the digital ground, there's no, you know, it's just you and this code. Yeah, I think we started talking about that because of supply and demand. How that should totally end. Supply and demand. There's only 16.7 million Bitcoins. The new supply of Bitcoin is going to get cut in 2.5 years. So our prediction is that the demand is going to stay the same or increase, and we're leaning toward increasing, obviously. And so that means the value of Bitcoin would go up. I think so. That's that. Comparing that to gold. Yep. Go back up, check out the chat. Centralized lending, yep, like SALT. Other systems as well. Decentralized lending, you know, that's something that everyone should be aware of. Decentralized lending, there's going to be pools of money made up of tokens of some sort. And instead of you needing to borrow money against the bank, you're going to be able to borrow money against this decentralized pool. And yeah, there's going to be no middleman who has an incentive for you to succeed, or they have no incentive for you to fail. It's just you and the rate and the pool, and it's completely decentralized, which means that no one would be able to allow you to, you know, break the rules or to not use it. I wasn't meaning hodl when I was saying hold. I was saying just buy and hold. You know, buy and hodl is the next level understanding of where you want to get to. But hodling is, I think, far better than holding. Okay. Shout out from Hawaii. Aloha. Thank you for the screen layout. Let's see what else we have here in the news. All right, so we were sort of talking about this a second ago. We've shown this meme before. And so what's going to happen is that if you're new to the space, you might not know this, but at some point, China is going to ban Bitcoin. And the United States is going to ban Bitcoin, and everyone is going to ban Bitcoin, and then they're going to unban Bitcoin. And because they're seeking to, you know, just get a hold on Bitcoin. They're seeking to control Bitcoin. And different ways that they can do that is by talking about Bitcoin in terms of anti-terrorism, or they can talk about Bitcoin in terms of protecting citizens or protecting children. And we just are going to hear more and more of that coming out of every single level of government, let it be the SEC, Homeland Security, state governments, federal governments. There's going to be a huge desire for governments and banks to control Bitcoin, because essentially Bitcoin is competing with the dollar. And if people have a choice to buy and sell and trade goods or oil in, you know, US dollars, or you know, the petrol yuan, muambis, or they're going to want to trade in Bitcoin. They may want to trade in Bitcoin. If more people are trading in Bitcoin, that means there's fewer people trading in fiat, let it be dollars or euros or whatever you have. And just fewer people trading in dollars or euros, and there's more of those dollars and euros in the supply. There's more of those dollars and euros inside, you know, the economy not being used, and that's decreasing the value of that fiat money. And if it's decreasing the value of that fiat money, it's decreasing the power of the institutions that are issuing that fiat. And so there's definitely a direct conflict in a lot of ways between cryptocurrencies and fiat. And just like we saw, you know, 100 years ago when gold was illegal, and then after all the gold was confiscated, then the price of gold went up, and then gold became, you know, more regulated. But this is a different sort of scenario, because everyone can have their own Bitcoin. Everyone can have their own access to the Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin can be buried. Bitcoin can, you know, cross borders. If one government makes Bitcoin illegal, there can be several other governments that make it so Bitcoin is not illegal. And it'll just be very difficult for these different countries to be a part of international trade, when really it's going to come to a point where more of these regions are going to be realizing they want the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies to come into their regions, and that's what's going to give them strength. That is what is going to give them power, not pushing it out. Because the more they push it out, this Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency, all of it is like water. And the more of this water, the more of this crypto that is in a physical area. And when I mean the crypto is in a physical area, I mean people inside that area, businesses inside that area, they possess their own private keys for their own Bitcoin. And the more Bitcoin crypto, which is like crypto water in your area, the stronger your area is going to be in the case of, you know, a dry spout. In the case that economic desert comes to that area is going to be able to be self-sufficient because the amount of crypto that that community has. And so if you're doing great, if you have any amount of Bitcoin, that's cool. But if you want to live in a future where it's going to give you real strength, if you want to live in a future where you're going to be able to have that Bitcoin, have that freedom, have that autonomy, and really use it and really own it to its full effect, then it's in your best interest to help other people learn about Bitcoin, to help other people get a Bitcoin wallet, to send other people their very first, you know, micro Bitcoin transaction, or even Litecoin if the transaction fees are too high, just to get them aware of what's happening, to show them, you know, how scary it is to send their first blockchain transfer. You know, it's fun, it's scary, it's new, it's interesting, and it's definitely in your best interest to help other people learn about this technology. Yeah, someone bought some shaved ice cream for Bitcoin, probably $700 now. You definitely want to replace any Bitcoin that you spend. All right, so turning to the news, we have this article from Bitcoinist.com where the U.S. Federal Reserve is issuing a Bitcoin warning. And so what do we have here? The U.S. Federal Reserve issues warning urging that measures may need to be taken in the future to prevent financial instability if more money is invested in Bitcoin. I mean, that seems like an interesting statement. That almost seems like a scary statement that there could be, how do they phrase this? They're issuing a warning. They're urging that measures may need to be taken to prevent future instability. And so this is exactly what we're talking about. The more money that goes into Bitcoin, the more money that goes into cryptocurrency, especially as we get closer to some sort of financial correction or worse, the weaker that the U.S. dollar becomes, the weaker the U.S. dollar becomes, the more urgent it's going to be for the Federal Reserve and the central banks from whichever countries are affected through this are going to be for them to maintain stability of the dollar. Essentially, people taking, going to their banks and exiting, the U.S. dollar into Bitcoin, transferring more and more money from their bank accounts to Coinbase, and from Coinbase into Bitcoin, that is essentially the same thing as having a run on the banks. And so right now, you see the investment accelerating. Well, there's going to come a threshold when the investment turns into an exit, and the exit is accelerating. The Federal Reserve is aware that this is the process in which it happens. They're aware that this is absolutely going to happen as difficult times come to America and come to the Federal Reserve, come to the dollar, because while we've been going up and up and up in terms of the stock market since 2010, that up and up and up and upward trend cannot continue forever. So the warning for these digital currencies, specifically Bitcoin, is that they pose financial stability risks. They predict a 10% reduction in Bitcoin's price on Friday, which has brought it to $11,000. So you can see how this article was, pretty old. When does this article come out? Just December 3rd. So this is just a week ago. So Randy Quarles is the federal vice chairman of supervision, and he says that more serious financial stability issues may result if they achieve wide-scale usage. Digital currencies are a niche product that sometimes garner large headlines. Now, he's saying that Bitcoin has no intrinsic value, and it's not the liability of a regulated banking institution, and in leading cases is not the liability of any institution. Indeed, how to treat and define this new asset is complicated because they don't want to call it a currency, because they don't want to call it a commodity. They don't want to, no matter how they call it, it creates pros and cons for each of the different peoples involved. And so it just is a hugely complex subject from them, from their perspective, because there's no winning position for this to go through. So Mr. Quarles goes on to say that in an economic system, the current system could be greatly challenged by liquidity and credit risks brought about by a lack of stability exchange rate between cryptocurrency and the US dollar. So, and the lack of a stable exchange rate, as we've been seeing the price of Bitcoin go up, I'm just interested in trying to figure out, is the price of Bitcoin really going up? Or are we just simply seeing a certain level of inflation with the US dollar? Maybe, it's hard for us to recognize more serious inflation with the dollar because the dollar is used all around the world. And so the price of goods going up is sort of delayed to the value of the dollar going down. And so when we're seeing the price of Bitcoin go up so much, and we're seeing many of these altcoins and other commodities stay the same price, is the value of Bitcoin really going up, or is the value of the dollar really going down? And when we read articles like this from Bitcoinist, and we see what the Federal Reserve is saying about talking about the challenges between liquidity and credit, and because of the lack of stability in the exchange rate between the US dollar and cryptocurrency, between Bitcoin and the US dollar, in times of adversary, in times, like we're talking about in the potentially near future, where there could be economic uncertainty, those are the times of adversity that the Federal Reserve is talking about. Those are the times of adversity that the exchange rate between Bitcoin and the US dollar could cause the economic system to be greatly challenged by liquidity and credit risks. Because of the stability of the exchange rate between the different cryptocurrencies, specifically Bitcoin, which has the greatest network effect, which every other cryptocurrency is dependent on in terms of its exchange rate between it as a cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is clutch, and Bitcoin is clutch against the US dollar, with the US dollar, and how this evolves once it gets to a tipping point is going to happen very quickly, and it's going to be very, very interesting. So this article goes on to say that given that Bitcoin specifically is seen as the potential successor to the US dollar, why would anyone want to challenge a dominant-backed currency for fiat currency that's backed by the government decree? And so where does this go on to? Bitcoin's a fraud, Bitcoin has no value, Bitcoin has no advantage. This is everything they say, but actually we know that Bitcoin has the advantage of being decentralized, Bitcoin has the advantage of being peer-to-peer, Bitcoin has the advantage of needing no middleman, no single server, no single country, no single anything for it to exist, that it currently exists and will continue to exist forever until the end of time. It's a cross-border payment method. It's an ability to store your value, and that ability for it to store your value is coming from a limited supply. Yep. So that's all very interesting. This warning from the Federal Reserve. What do you think about this warning from the Federal Reserve? Do you think that this is a sign of the things to come? Do you think that they are what are the, I guess the real question is, what are the next steps? So if they're saying, so if they're urging that measures may need to be taken, I guess the real question here is, what are these measures? They must know what these measures are. And so what do you think that these measures would need to be that they're thinking about that would need to be taken place. Hey everybody. If you're just joining us, this is our first live stream that we're testing. We're just seeing how this goes. We are doing a show live sort of as it happens. Normally there's a lot of like planning that happens and just sort of detailing everything that we're going to talk about. And today we're just going through the headlines, sharing the information with you, helping you read what we're reading, look at the headlines that we're looking at, and learning about this information together. So I guess a second ago we were just seeing how the U.S. Federal Reserve is urging people and governments and regulators that measures may need to be taken as the exchange rate of Bitcoin to the USD starts to become more volatile in times of adversity. And here we have the Dutch national newspapers urging people to sell all their Bitcoins as it undermines the government and could destabilize the economy and reduces the power of central banks. So this is, really interesting. And again, we're just going to see this all different countries across the world, conflicting pieces of news of if Bitcoin is legal, illegal, and this is going to be affecting the price of Bitcoin. And so it's really important that you to understand that, maybe someday if Bitcoin's $100,000 and then Bitcoin is made illegal and the price crashes, that maybe the price is going to go back up. This difference between, buying and holding and buying and hodling, as we were talking about the chat a little bit earlier ago. So in this other article over here from CryptoCoinNews.com, we have this Nobel economists who don't like Bitcoin because it disrupts traditional finance. We're seeing that from this Dutch newspaper that was urging people to sell all their Bitcoins as it undermines the government control and reduces the power of the central banks. And here we have this Nobel laureate, and has claimed that governments will ultimately outlaw and crack down on Bitcoin in the long term. So this is no longer just us thinking about this. This is Nobel winners who are also talking about this. And so the person Schiller states here that Bitcoin is just absolutely exciting. You're fast, you're smart, you figured out, no one else understands, and you're with it. And Bitcoin has this anti-government, anti-regulation feel. It's such a wonderful story, if only it were true. And so, let's see, it goes on to say, I don't know where it's going to stop. It's going to go way up, like the stock market did in the 1920s. We will reach a 1929 eventually, but then it won't go to zero. It just will come down. Person goes on to say that Nobel laureates and leading economists, along with bankers, truly understand and feel and fear the disrupted nature of Bitcoin and its decentralized structure, which threatens the very existence of central banks and the global fiat-based monetary system. Bitcoin is disrupting this entire worldview of these conventional economists, these Keynesian economists, these economists who believe in increasing the amount of money in the world, these economists who believe that inflation is a good thing, Keynesian economists who are the polar opposites of people who believe in Austrian economics which believes that there should be a cap to the total amount of money supply so that the value of that money increases over time, not decreases. So Bitcoin's grown huge. Long ago, far, far away, Bitcoin was only a thing of the dark market. It was only something that drug users and terrorists would use. Not really, but that's how it was perceived. And Bitcoin has come a long way, and now everyone is starting to pay attention to Bitcoin. You know, if if you're watching this chat, if you just became aware of Bitcoin in the past couple months, you know, give a shout out if that's you. If you just learned about this fairly recently. Max Keiser talked about this as Bitcoin came above $10,000, that more and more people were really going to start getting into Bitcoin. And just imagine what happens when Bitcoin reaches $50,000 or $100,000. So the Bitcoin and the decentralized cryptocurrencies are eliminating the source of power from governments, the source of power of banks, and that's its ability to leverage the reserve currency. And so Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are directly undermining the government's ability to exert its strength, right? It's like the banking system is more powerful of a means of control than even the military is. But at the same time, if the banking system isn't there for a means of control, then I suppose that the government may need to lean on the military system, at least to some degree. So going on in here, so this person goes on to say that 9 years in, governments such as the U.S., Japan, South Korea, and Russia could have banned Bitcoin. By doing so, I think they would have made it 10 times the value that it is today. But instead, leading governments and countries have just implemented strict regulations to oversee its rapidly growing market. You know, if they make it illegal, then it's going to make it very popular. If they make it illegal, it's going to make it very, very popular. Illegal or illegal, they're going to be making it very, very popular. And so they've chosen to do nothing. A lot of countries, including the United States, have made a lot of decisions to help push away the Bitcoin industry, have helped to push away Bitcoin adoption, have helped push away some of the leading minds in the Bitcoin and blockchain technology space to not build in the United States, to not even live in the United States. This is the opposite strategy that we see some other countries taking, like Russia and Vladimir Putin, who is seeking to allow as much Bitcoin and blockchain adoption in their country as possible, because Putin is crypto crazy like I am, or like we are. He loves Bitcoin. He loves Ethereum. He loves that Ethereum was created by Vitalik. And he recognizes that Bitcoin is going to be for the future what Silicon was for the past, 80 years. And at this phase, according to this article, the probability of the governments attempting to outlaw or ban Bitcoin is close to zero, given that any form of aggressive regulation will lead to the Bitcoin markets moving underground, which is significantly more difficult to regulate. And so that's the direction that is going. Someone says it's cheaper to send money via Western Union. I don't know if that's true for Litecoin. And even if it is sometimes expensive for people to send Bitcoin, people can, if you know when to send Bitcoin, and it's not the ideal user experience, but the Bitcoin isn't always super expensive to send, and there are other alternatives out there as well. In the future, there's going to be atomic swapping and instant changing of one currency to another currency, and the fees more than likely are going to come down. Either scaling is never solved, and no one solves scaling, and no blockchain technology solves scaling ever, and Bitcoin never grows. Block this guy. Okay. And it never grows, or they solve scaling, and Bitcoin and Bitcoin has increased adoption. So this is a really important chart. So we talked about this before. I want everyone to take a look at this again, just to recognize what's happening here. So it's been joked that this is the value of Bitcoin increasing, but what this actually is, let me zoom in even more. What this actually is that we have the adjusted monetary base of income, the amount of money that's being created and printed and existing in the world since, you know, it started in 1918 that they have this data for. And so when they say that the value of the US dollar has decreased 99.9%, this is what they're talking about. And so right here, what do we have? This is about 2008, 2009. You see how we're on this really steady growth curve? And then in 1978, 1979, you know, you could see how it starts to pick up. There's sort of this bump here in 1999, 2000. And then it sort of continues this trajectory. And then in 2008, 2009, there's this huge spike up, followed by an additional significant spike up, followed again by an even more significant spike upward. And so the trajectory of where this graph is going and the amount of money that's been printed is just phenomenal. This is unbelievable. I can't begin to, you know, articulate what this means for the US dollar and what this means for inflation. I mean, this is the joke where this is an altcoin that's centrally located. They're able to print as much as they want, and it's just, there's absolutely nothing backing the technology. And when you think about this, in the past 10 years, the delta between the amount of money that was created in this past 10 years versus the delta of the amount of money that was created in the previous 10 years before that is so significant that this is why so many people feel as if we're leading to a place of extreme uncertainty. Yeah, and so I mean, just imagine what if there were magically 36, you know, million Bitcoins? What would that do to the value of each Bitcoin? It would drop the value of each Bitcoin. And so this is what they did here, just all this money. This is just a lot of money, and we just need a better way to articulate what this does to the supply and the value of what someone thinks should be a $100 bill. All right, so turning to this article from Cointelegraph.com, we have this article coming out last week where the U.S. Senate is moving to criminalize the non-disclosure of your cryptocurrency ownership. And so the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee is currently tackling this bill, S1241, that aims to criminalize the intentional concealment or ownership or control of a financial account that would amend the definition of financial account and financial institution so that it would include digital currencies, digital exchanges, and everything dealing with these new decentralized assets. So according to the ranking committee member, who's Senator Dianne Feinstein, the proposed bill is needed to modernize what's happening in the financial sectors, to modernize what's happening with anti-money laundering laws and know your customer laws inside the cryptocurrency world. And so let's see what some of these specific definitions are. And so the bill would amend the definition of a financial institution in section 53412A of Title 31 United States Code to include an issuer, redeemer, or cashier of prepaid access devices, digital currency, or any digital exchange or tumbler of digital currency. And so if passed, this bill would likely have far-reaching effects for users of digital currencies in both the United States and all around the world. Lots of people think that this is very, very bad. Tone Vays is actually quoted here and says that this creates a confrontation between the Bitcoin team, including holders, hodlers, users, and the US government. Tone Vays goes on to say that he thinks it's bad and that he thinks it's going to end in a very confrontational way between all of these constituents. Separately, in his testimony during the hearing, we have John Cassera claim that the issue of virtual currencies is interesting. And he says, "Senator, I'm just glad I had my career when I did because I don't know what I'm trying to follow. The money when it comes to the digital currencies is extremely, extremely challenging. And I think if you look at the metrics suggest today that digital currencies are a small fraction of a threat that we face." And so that's not to say that it's going to be the case 5 to 10 years from now, but we're at the crossroads and it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens and how we move forward. So this just goes in to say what we're seeing earlier with a video, just a couple of videos ago, where the White House is actively monitoring cryptocurrencies. And this could mean more attempts to regulate the world's first decentralized monetary system, which is Bitcoin. And now with the growing involvement of Wall Street, this is escalating the media attention, and it's not surprising that the governments are going to want to step in even further to maintain their control, to exert their control, as we're seeing in so many pieces of news and recent news articles coming out of all aspects of government and regulation. So some people asking, how do we take control? Yeah, you take control by owning your own private keys. So that's definitely key, if you will. Pun partially intended. Yeah, you definitely want to own your own private keys. I definitely recommend you get a Trezor. Yeah, or a Ledger Nano S also works. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin. That's an important point to remember. Now at the same time, I recommend everyone pays their taxes and everyone seeks a financial advisor and everyone makes their own decisions. There's a lot of potential reward in this industry. There's also a lot of risk, and disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. So what do we have here? So here we have something on Reddit. We see that less than 5% of the people in the Western world have Bitcoin. People talk about it, but they don't understand it yet. This is just the beginning. So let's see what this graph is here. So we have, I guess, all these S-curves of different technologies. So you see that this graph is saying this is where we are here with Bitcoin in terms of the percentage of the people who have heard of Bitcoin, have even heard of Bitcoin, because there's even far less number of people who actually own Bitcoin. We've gone over that data in the past, number of people that own Bitcoin and how much Bitcoin you would need to own for you to have, be in the top 10% of all the Bitcoin owners in the world. And so last we checked, you would need to have about 2.2 Bitcoins to be in the top 10%. But even if you owned, a fraction of a Bitcoin, you're going to be one of the few people, because there's still going to be 99.9% of the rest of the world who owns zero cryptocurrency whatsoever. So if you're involved at this point, this is very, very early on. I think you're not going to be one of those people in 10 years or 20 years from now. A lot of people are thinking about 2020, 2024, 2025. I mean, just think about 10 years, 15 years from now, if you are still able to have a little piece of Bitcoin, what that's going to mean for you and your life. Just crazy. So just in this S-curve, we just see this compared to things like the internet, you know, the microwave, refrigerators, radios, electricity, how these things aren't bell curves. They're not bell curves where they go up and they go down, although that could happen. What we're seeing here is Bitcoin is a technology is probably going to follow an S curve, just as if it was, you know, Facebook also followed an S curve, right? So public service announcements, probably not a good idea to tell people how much Bitcoin you have. I guess people are always thinking about the $5 wrench attack and how there's not enough, you know, money in the world to crack your Trezor, but you know, someone could beat you up and try to make you tell them the password. And so generally speaking, you know, it's not advisable to brag about how much Bitcoin you have, or or to, you know, anything like that. Just there's going to be a lot of risk moving forward, and yeah, the recommendation here is that if anyone asks how much you have, the best answer would be to say just enough. And so that's your public service announcement. Cool, that's that information. So anyone that's new to the channel, new to the chat, we just started our new Patreon page, and I can pop that into the chat as well. And so we have our new Patreon page, and we're just looking to maintain our independence. We're looking to reduce the number of sponsored ICO review videos that we're putting out there. Not that we're doing that many, but I guess it's really thinking about the future and making sure that we get to a point where we are not depending on it, where we're not relying on it. We would like to continue making videos and make this full time. We'd love to figure out how to best have a live show so it has, you know, the greatest amount of value for you, the greatest amount of energy for everybody watching. You know, taking these videos and really, you know, cutting them up, putting out more videos every day, getting more important information to more people, increasing Bitcoin awareness, Bitcoin adoption, understanding about what's happening in Ethereum, what's happening in the blockchain space, people learning about ENS domain names and the integration of this technology with everyday life. We want to just continue doing this every day. We have our Patreon page just to help us. We made, you know, some, what do we make? We made some rewards in here. So yeah, you can go check this out, but we have rewards in here. So if you were able to support us with even $1, then you get access, everybody gets access to the Discord channel, but then you get called out as a special patron, early access to the videos when we release the videos. If you can support us more than $1, more than $10, we can give you a link or a mention to your social media or to your business or whatever, what have you. You know, then we have additional awards that go up beyond that. We're trying to figure out how can we incorporate people into the videos, maybe doing video credits at the end of the videos. I don't know if you have any ideas for us to help us with ideas of rewards of what we could potentially offer people, then, you know, feel free to share those with us. Feel free to check out our Patreon page, and you know, I don't know what you think about that. We currently have 2 patrons. We're super excited. And we definitely encourage, you know, anyone else that wants to be a patron as well. Okay, so going back to the chat, we have an interesting article on Cointelegraph, how Bitcoin has less of an impact on the environment than fiat. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, especially when you think about all the paper that's printed, right? And a lot of those bills need to be reproduced, all the change, all the metal that needs to get created. Yeah, creating money, that's a huge centralized process that has to use a lot of energy every year to maintain that system. Yeah, we'll take a search for that, or feel free to share that video with us via email, and we can definitely take a look at that. Yeah, Crypto Cartel, you're welcome for the PSA. A lot of people doxing themselves. Yeah, a lot of people don't recognize how their current actions have future consequences, and could make things difficult in the future, to say the least. So yeah, we have our Patreon page, and again, we have the Discord channel. Come check us out over at Discord. We have the link in the chat, and definitely be part of our community over here. We're going to be incorporating this a lot more moving forward with our community, and really excited to have you in the chat talking about what's really interesting. You can, you know, come in here and go into the coin that channel that is most interesting for you, and you could share links. We can look at those links. We can discuss things. Not interested in anyone who's pumping and dumping, but you know, I'm definitely looking to have conversations and talk about the real opportunities and how people are making money beyond just trading. You know, we have the Zencash nodes, we have the Ethereum names. You know, we have a lot of people who are excited about Amizigo, including me. And yeah, so you can definitely jump in the room as well, and you know, let us know what you think. Let's see here. And yeah, check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook. We're always posting stuff to Twitter and Facebook too. It's so easy for us just to retweet something or to see an article related or not related, and then for us to take that and to share it very quickly onto Facebook or Twitter. So you get to see, oh whoa, we're watching ourselves live, watching ourselves live. Happy. 78 people reached. This is cool. After months of being shut out of YouTube, we're finally testing our first live stream. Sam, what's up, Sam? Who else? Anthony, Luke, Stefano. Thank you guys for liking us on Facebook. That's really cool. Yeah, feel free to like this video. I wonder how that's going. So yeah, this is really cool. We're really excited that anyone showed up. We're really excited that you're here. Yeah, we're just talking, looking at the news. Thanks for hanging out with us. We are planning on cutting these videos up and then posting them to YouTube. So yeah, we're not planning on keeping this whole live stream live. Probably not, at least. Got 30 people live right now. I love all you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much. YouTube says the stream is good, stream is healthy, stream health is excellent. So that's very exciting to hear. Let's see, just checking this out a little bit. Stream options, station, cards. I don't know what any of this does. Card. I gotta figure this all out. This is all new. Yeah, we've been shut out of YouTube live streaming for over 6 months. Honestly, I mean, I can show you the exact videos. We did one video about Shapeshift. I forgot what the last video was that nicked us. Might have been Coinbase or something. And yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen again. But yeah, this is kind of fun. I love doing this all day, just like reading about the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency, and going through all the news. And so the fact that we can do it live and figure out how to continue improving the show, because as you can imagine, I'm planning on the stage presence to become stronger, for the stage presence to become better. I feel as if I've improved a little bit since I started doing this 9 months ago, and I plan on becoming even better to be able to, you know, hold the stage. I feel as if I have a lot of information in my head, and feel as if I'm able to think quickly about the facts and the analogies and the current state of affairs, and I'm able to spit out interesting information relatively quickly. I just need to be able to hold my stage presence and hold back the ums and the whatnot. Keep my potty mouth clean, as someone is saying. Did I say something bad? Oops. Got a shout out to England out there. Okay, so what is it doing over here on Facebook? Oh yeah, I wanted to share this post with you. So we posted this post and we had some cool images over here on Facebook, talking about how China's rolling out the petro renminbi. We have this other little infographic here talking about the reserve currency not lasting forever, and just stages of reserve currencies going through different countries, currently the United States. We have this other infographic talking about how much oil, with the size of the oil market in the world, which is, according to this infographic, $1.7 trillion. And then it, for comparative purposes, puts gold inside there at 170 billion. Again, Bitcoin is over $250 billion, so Bitcoin is over $150 billion. So a Bitcoin is very large. And if, once Bitcoin reaches that $1.5 trillion, which it's going to, speculating, not financial advice, then it's going to be amazing when you look at the value of Bitcoin next to gold and the value of Bitcoin next to oil, to see where this is going. But in terms of the petrodollar and the petro yuan or the petro renminbi, this is where this is going, where the oil market and having all this oil or a fraction of this oil traded in, yuans, which are gold backed, instead of the petrodollar, is just setting up the world for an interesting situation. This was a picture of a balloon popping, and people referencing this to Bitcoin. And so when you see this balloon popping, this bubble popping, Bitcoin is the pin, and this is fiat. The water is the fiat. And the old financial system was the balloon containing the ever-expanding growth of the fiat currency. And now all of this fiat, this water, is just being released into the Bitcoin world, into the cryptocurrency world. So, we got some cool stuff over here on Facebook to share with people. Feel free to check that out. Oh, cool. Nope. Okay, so I didn't say anything about it. Yeah, usually on the live show, I do a good job watching my tongue. So, yeah, I suppose in real life, I'm a little bit of a different person, and I swear a lot more, when I'm not on YouTube. So just, that's good to know. I didn't accidentally say a couple things out there. Where are we? Let's see if there's anything interesting in the news over here. So I don't know if I can play this. You guys seen this? I better not. I don't want to get in trouble from Family Guy. But I will leave it in the comments for you guys to check out. Check that out, that Family Guy episode. That's in the links below for you. That's awesome. Share that with your friends. Share that with your Facebook. It's a Family Guy talking about it long ago. News. What do you guys think about this? Winklevoss twins. first Bitcoin billionaires. So just as a side note, you can't be a Bitcoin billionaire unless you have 1 billion Bitcoins. You have $1 billion in Bitcoin, but you can't, gotta have 1 billion Bitcoins to be a Bitcoin millionaire. We also have Craigslist. Check this out. According to this article coming from CoinDesk.com, Craigslist sellers can now request cryptocurrency payments in the form of cryptocurrency. It's not super clear, but right here in the posting details, you can see a little cryptocurrency OK. Yep. And there's a little checkbox there where you can say it's okay for you to get paid in the different cryptocurrencies. This was pointed out in Reddit in December 7th. And so it's really interesting to see additional marketplaces that are accepting Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Yeah, so people are always talking about where can we get it, where can we use it, and Craigslist is just going to be another place out there where that is going to be an opportunity for you. So before somewhere we were talking about the S-curve. Where was that? We were talking about this S-curve here. And in bitcoinmagazine.com, there's this op-ed that Bitcoin is not in a bubble. It's in an S-curve, and it's just getting started. So this op-ed talks about the CBOE futures market and how this is opening up the door for Wall Street and for institutional investors to participate in the market. How this could spell doom or gloom for Bitcoin. A lot of people are speculating that this could be the end of Bitcoin, that they're going to use this as a tool to destroy Bitcoin. Everyone's speculating what's going to happen next. This is going to be really interesting to see how Wall Street interacts with Bitcoin BTC. And this could, while some people think that this could be the demise of Bitcoin, a lot of people think that this could accelerate the value of Bitcoin. And so I suppose that this article is going on to say that on a macro level, we may be witnessing more of a grand pattern forming, a price correlated S-curve, as it goes on to say. And so what the S-curve is a classic adoption curve applied to the advent of new technologies, as we were talking about before. A percentage of the population is going to go into adoption into the technology, but it's going to lag where the technology is utilized by the innovators of the technology. And this is followed by an early adoption phase led by the people who often take risks in order to be the first movers in the space. You're part of those early adopters and you're part of those first movers. I hope you're well aware of that. After the early adoption phase, 16% of the population is now participating. We're not there yet. There then comes a tipping point where the wide use of the technology seems inevitable. The tipping point gives the rise to the early majority joining in on the fun, followed by the late majority, and finally the holdouts who allow the top of the S to asymptotically approach the adoption. The curve as a factor of time and adoption looks like the following pattern. And so here we have how the percentage of people who are moving into using the new technology and how that S-curve looks on top of that. And so we're still in this innovator and early adopter phase. and this is where we're at now. And so when we think that this is where we're at now with a $15,000 Bitcoin, and to think that the moon is the limit, we really don't know what the top end of this S curve could possibly be. We have a couple other interesting graphs as part of this op-ed at Bitcoin Magazine. We have the Google searches for Bitcoin over time, increasing from December 2012 into December 2014, December 2015. And you can see how it's been increasing from the end of 2016 all the way through, is this June? Yeah, so this is really actually increasing since June 2017, the amount of people who are actively searching for this information. And then here we see the number of Coinbase users over time, starting in January 2014, January 2015, January 2016, January 2017, and halfway through we can see this bend in this line where it starts to shoot straight up. So that they're saying that this is traditionally a phase between the innovators and early adopters, which again would put us at this very, very early stage and would put you square in the middle between the innovator and early adopter phase. And so, I don't know. If this ends up being some sort of big thing in the future, give yourself a pat on the back for being in this early and watching, getting this information this early in the grand scheme of things. So, why is this remarkable? So Bitcoin may be the first viable S-curve because this is a capped supply currency. More users adopting and using it equates to an increase in the price. Whether that correlation is even reflective in the current price action is practically an unanswerable question. The obvious leaning would be, toward a speculation of additional value. And that with this additional increase in adoption, there seems to be a floor rising up to catch up with whatever the bubble, whenever the bubble might occur, if and when whichever happens first. And that's simply because the amount of people getting into Bitcoin, the amount of speculation happening in Bitcoin can, will, and likely is creating a Bitcoin bubble to some extent. And while that Bitcoin bubble, you'd imagine would, burst, what bursting means in the Bitcoin world is dramatically different than in a world where there's unlimited supply. And even if it does burst significantly, as it has several times in the past, we see that price will then just shoot past to where it started from when it was in the peak of the original situation of, which people called it a bubble. And so, with other technologies, you have things like Google, you have things like Facebook. It doesn't matter what it is. The person is the product, the person is using it. The person doesn't have the ability to own a fundamental core of the technology, of the company, of the protocol, of the system, of the infrastructure. You couldn't own 100th of, or 1,000,000th, of all the TCP IP or the SMTP in the world. But you can own 1,000,000th of all the Litecoin. You can own 1,000,000th of all of the Bitcoin. You can own 1,000,000th of practically any one of these existing blockchain technologies, and you can be one of at least, or at most, 1,000,000 people who could ever own that much of that particular protocol. And that's just fundamental. It's just a fundamental shift. It's a drastic shift in society and technology and in the course of where we're going to be headed in the future. So let's see what we have going on over here. Yeah, don't try to convince. Don't try to convince anybody of anything. I think that's a dangerous sort of mindset to think that you're going to try to convince. I think all you can do is share information with people, and just let them know. Just continue increasing awareness. If you're trying to force an idea on somebody, then it's going to be difficult for them to latch on to that. They're going to be resistant because of the forcefulness that not you, but the general person may be trying to convey information. And so simply just share information, share memes, share, information that's going to be educating them, inspiring them, enlightening them, and adding to their base of knowledge. So as time goes on, they can look at their thought process and maybe they can shift that based on the facts, instead of being pushed away from everyone, telling them what to do with their money. Governments are probably going to embrace it. They're gonna seek to dominate it, and that's where they're going to create a lot of that fear, uncertainty, confusion, doubt. Yeah, if you wanna know the future, all you have to do is watch Family Guy and The Simpsons, and anything you see in Family Guy and The Simpsons, take that as a clue. I think the Family Guy, Simpsons, I think those shows have shown that time and time again, that one little joke isn't really a joke. Or the reason the joke is funny is because there's a half-truth involved inside of it. So Metcalfe's law states that the value of a telecommunications network is proportional to the square of the number of connected users to the system. Right. So we heard about this in some investing stuff. So with Bitcoin, if you guys are speculating or doing some trading out there, if you want to have like a secret chart that helps you make decisions for yourself, you can do what Metcalfe's law is stating. And so you just want to take, if you're trying to figure out the value of, say, Bitcoin or a particular blockchain technology, in this case, it's being defined as a telecommunications network. To get that value, you just want to figure out what the square of the number of connected users to the system is. And so connected users could be, however you want to define that as like a math person. You could say connected users would be the number of users that have at least 0.1 Bitcoin, the number of users, or the number of Bitcoin wallets that have at least 0.01 Bitcoin, or you can say the number of transactions that have happened in a given period of time, or you can say the number of wallets with at least a certain amount of Bitcoin, divided by the number of transactions, and that could be your number. And then you just, whatever, you got to figure out how you define the number of connected users within the blockchain network, like Bitcoin. And then if you square that number, Metcalfe's law is going to give you your your value of that telecommunications network. And I know a lot of traders are definitely leveraging Metcalfe's law to Bitcoin to have information. Yeah, Crypto Cartel, we were talking about that. We have that post on Facebook. Check out that post on Facebook that talks about that. But yeah, how does China's move to replace the petrodollar with the petro-yuan affect Bitcoin? Jeez. I think that what's important to recognize that if more people are using the petro-yuan instead of the petrodollar, then the petrodollar, the USD, has less utility. The USD has less purpose. There's going to be more people releasing USD back into the market, not wanting to hold those. And if there's an increased supply of USD entering the market because China and Russia need less of it to trade oil, then that's going to be bad for the US dollar. So in relationship to Bitcoin, the US dollar would go down in value. But if your whole life revolves around $100 bills, the way that you're going to see the value of the dollar going down is in two ways. You're going to see the value of the goods go up. It's going to be more expensive to buy eggs and milk and cheese and gas. And the price of Bitcoin is going to go up, right? That's why currently the price of Bitcoin in Zimbabwe is significantly more then the price of Bitcoin for you in America or a country like that is because money is much more difficult to get in Zimbabwe. So if there's too much money or not enough money, then the value of Bitcoin is going to be more. Yeah, as far as Bitcoin being a bubble, go look at this. I use the word bubble super lightly because it's super ridiculous, right? So where were we? So let's throw in a U.S. price. Wait, yeah, that's in green right there. Okay. So here we were at $18,000, and everyone was just buying and buying and buying. Like that was a bubble. It was a, where are we? So you have the 7th, even before that, say here. You have from the 6th, the past couple days. So it was in a bubble for a couple days, right? It was in a bubble. It was in a bubble for one day, maybe 2 days. So when I say I was in a bubble, it goes up, it goes down. The price has gone up significantly in the past month. And it is possible that because of all this money going into Bitcoin, we got to recognize it's more than likely not mom and pop type folks. I mean, granted, there's a lot of mainstream people that are seeking to get like a half a Bitcoin or 1 Bitcoin maybe right now. But really, by and large, the majority of the money that's coming to the space is coming into the space from wealthy individuals and institutional money, hedge funds, accredited investors, just really wealthy individuals. And with the level of wealth that's going in and the centralization of that control because of the amount of wealth going into Bitcoin, it is possible that a lot of that money could get retracted and causing a huge dip in the price of Bitcoin, right? It's totally possible that, for the $400 billion that went in at $25 billion a day, that information could be pulled out suddenly. And by pulling that money out suddenly, they can also have separate money that's hedging against the futures in the futures exchange. So they can pull that money out, watch the Bitcoin price drop, and then have immediate buy orders to then swipe that, those buys back in, knowing that the price is going to self-correct, super quickly. And so that's where you get that extreme volatility. And I suppose thinking about it with the CME, that's why they have that 7% cap. So if there's 7% volatility in one day, it's going to cease trading on the CME exchange there, and so that means that the CME would have stopped trading like 3 times yesterday alone, or in the past couple of days, right? Because of the swings that it's happened. I mean, it's at 7% right now in the past 24 hours. So it is possible for a lot of manipulation. It is possible for, with all the money to have gone in, for a lot of that money to come out. So there is a risk there. That All right, so we have this interesting article coming out of Cointelegraph.com talking about job opportunities in blockchain for 2018. And so I think this is really interesting for everyone to start thinking about, anyone who's starting to pay attention about Bitcoin and blockchain technology. If you're interested in Bitcoin, if you're interested in blockchain technology, if you own any, if you don't own any, if you want to own any, where the future is really going is that you want to shift your thinking into products and services. You want to think about how can you not invest into Bitcoin and blockchain technology, but how can you earn it? What can you do? What can you give? What can you offer the world where in return the world can offer you back payment in the form of cryptocurrencies, right? Normally people before blockchain technology, they would just want to get paid with cash, check, money order, PayPal, all of that works. But now people want to get paid in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Dash, Monero. And so in thinking that, you want to think about the job opportunities that are possible, the job opportunities that are out there. And in Cointelegraph, they're talking about that. So just at a high level, they're recommending that people think about different opportunities in the industry that are going to be required as the adoption of Bitcoin and blockchain technology is increased. So every day, more and more businesses have been inquiring about Bitcoin blockchain technology, and these businesses are professionals that are really seeking to meet their goals and their objectives in the blockchain technology space. And concurrently, the demand for employees in the blockchain industry has been on the rise, according to this article, and it's expected to thrive into the new year, just as you would expect Bitcoin to thrive into the new year as well. So in 2018, some of these opportunities for individuals to work in a blockchain space are plentiful, and here's a couple of them. So we have project managers. It's going to be a huge need to coordinate the other, business to business coordination of how they're going to use this technology, if not project managers for the technologies themselves. So project managers can just speak both the technical language and the marketing language and the executive language. And project manager is just someone who can cross-communicate requirements among different types of people and manage time for the project. They can manage who's responsible for what and when those deliverables are due by to meet the bigger picture plan as articulated between their different constituents. We also have community support. These are everything from associates to managers and directors. Blockchain technologies thrive around communities. Blockchain technologies die with the lack of communities. And so community support professionals are going to be critical for the future of successful blockchain projects. Where would Bitcoin be today without the army of meme generators on Reddit? It wouldn't be doing nearly as well without all of them. Granted, we definitely have enough of them. We could use more developers in the world. The meme generators have done well. So with the community support, you get to think it's even more important to have this community support because there's going to be so many people, 99.999% of the world, who is unfamiliar with the way this new technology works. We're going to need community support to help people understand the technology, the systems, the new best practices or etiquettes of how things in this industry work. We need a community support to help teach people about the security and how to prevent themselves from getting scammed. All sorts of reasons that we need to have strong community support, not just to trumpet the successes, but also to help the people who are the actual bread and butter users of the different technologies. And the stronger community of the community, the stronger the team, traditionally the stronger that the business is going to be. Well, shifting from businesses to decentralized organizations, decentralized communities, the community support and everyone involved is going to be really important to just have people leading that voice and leading that direction. Surprised it's not first on this list, but we definitely are going to need more and more developers in the world as well. Developers have the most career opportunity. Developers have the most demand. Everyone needs developers. Every small project, every big project, every project that currently exists, every project that will exist. At the core of it, they're really going to need the developers. The banks need them, financial institutions, governments, insurance companies, tech companies, businesses, entrepreneurs. The developers are going to be needed across, every level of the spectrum. And if you have any sense of JavaScript, I recommend you start looking into Solidity, start coding for Ethereum, start looking into Bitcoin, start contributing to Bitcoin, get yourself a GitHub account. There's no reason why in 12 months you couldn't be, a contributor to any one of these major projects. You can do it if you want to do it. And relatively speaking, anything you put your mind to, it's not going to be that hard. So we're also going to need more lawyers, more paralegals, more researchers. Law is going to be a critical component of this new blockchain technology space, both defending it and also attacking other aspects that are going against it as well. And so we're definitely going to need more legal professionals in the space to advise ICOs, to advise businesses, to advise accountants. With that being said, we're going to need, I'm surprised it's not on this list, I'll add it to the list, more tax preparers, more accountants, more tax professionals in the blockchain space as well, who understand the rules, the regulations across, different governments or different state governments or different jurisdictions. So we're going to need legal professionals, we're going to need tax professionals. And then making our way back to the meme area, we're going to need more people in terms of the design. Blockchain related startups are going to need to convey messages. The designers are going to need to understand the blockchain technology. They're going to need to understand the relationships between ideas and between principles to convey those messages in meaningful, beautifully designed images and layouts and whatnot. And so this is designers across the whole spectrum, not just meme generators, but UI designers, UX designers, traditional designers, digital designers, application designers. It's really across the whole spectrum that all of these people will be needed, and all of these job opportunities will be opened up inside the space. But really taking this a level further through what's happening, if you don't fit any of these job categories, if you don't see yourself as a project manager or a community supporter or a developer or someone inside law and or tax or design, no matter, you must do something. And whatever it is, even if it's being awesome, you definitely do something. And whatever it is that you do, whatever product or service that you offer for the world, you can offer that product and service not just in dollars, but you can offer that in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dash, Monero. You can get paid for your products and your services in Bitcoin and blockchain technology, just as Craigslist is offering to allow people to accept cryptocurrencies, just like Overstock accepts cryptocurrencies, just like the gaming platform Steam. They were accepting Bitcoin. Bitcoin got too volatile and too expensive to transact in the current state of affairs, and so they switched to Litecoin. They didn't say no to blockchain technology. They just said no right now for Bitcoin. And this is a trend that the sooner you recognize this, the sooner you shift your business, even if it's like an income, and your dollar cost averaging a percentage of your income into the blockchain technology space, and it's only what you can afford to lose, then you can be participating into the community, into the ecosystem, into the industry of trading Bitcoin and blockchain technology. So 24 people on right now. Does anyone out there have a business where they accept Bitcoin or blockchain technology? Cool. Lots of collectors out there. A lot of job opportunities out there. It's only a matter of time before more and more businesses demand to be paid in Bitcoin and blockchain technologies. The higher the ticket item, the sooner I think that we'll see that. So if someone is, you know, construction, real estate, cars, all of that will happen first. Yep, all the precious metals except Bitcoin. They do that through BitPay. Does anybody have Instagram out there? You guys follow us on Instagram? Have you seen this? This is something that Adriana made. How much is 1 millibit? So this is a millibit, lowercase mbtc, millibit. And so January 2017, less than a year ago, 1 millibit was worth $1. And then June 2017, 6 months later, 1 millibit was worth $5. Remember those days? $5,000 Bitcoin? And then November, which was, you know, about a week ago, 1 millibit, excuse me, was worth a $10 bill. And we need to update this because we're guessing before the end of this year, 1 millibit could be a $20 bill. 1 millibit could be a $50 bill in 2018. So I was just thinking about this. We have this brand new article from so in this article here from CryptoCoinNews.com, we have the Bitcoin price to hit $50,000 next year, according to this private venture capitalist. And so Kinetic Capital managing partner has said that he expects the Bitcoin price to reach $50,000 by the end of 2018 as the cryptocurrency market becomes globally accepted. And so speaking on Bloomberg TV, Jihan Chu goes on to say, I think we're going to see $50,000 by the end of 2018. Halfway through 2018, it could be $50,000. Not financial advice. I think with the 1-2 punch, with the CBOE and CME, I think the entire world is on watch now for what's to come with the real liquidity that can enter this market and what that's going to look like. And so again, people are super stoked, super excited about the Chicago-based exchanges for the CBOE and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, known as the CME, which are launching their Bitcoin futures contracts today, and we'll probably see that deepen tomorrow, I would imagine. So the price is already out of control. People are seeing the price increase. People are expecting the price to further increase. I think these traders are recognizing that the price is going to go up and going to go down, but they're going to recognize, but they're conceding that the price is going to go up. So this person goes on to say that China is actually one of the fastest to adopt at an enterprising level blockchain technology. He's also of the opinion that the efforts by the People's Bank of China to develop its own cryptocurrency lends a lot of weight to the validity that digital currency at a sovereign level, generally adding that he thinks that in 2008 we're going to see the first state-backed digital currency in one form or another. And he bets that it's going to come from Asia. Well, isn't the BitRuble coming from Russia? Isn't Russia in Asia? Yeah. Unless he means like China or something else. So South Korea is focusing on the blockchain and cryptocurrency technology because they have a culture of trading. And they're already incredibly familiar with Forex trading and stocks. So Forex trading is foreign exchange trading. That's when you're trading one fiat for another fiat as those fiats go up and down in value. Like each of those fiats are their own little altcoin with unlimited supply backed by nothing. So we have this last quote here. I'm not sure it has a lot to do with politics between North and South, but I do think that you will see the population which is comfortable with trading like Japan, like Korea, and even Hong Kong to a degree, and especially recreationally in China, you're going to see a lot of interest in cryptocurrency, and I see that growing exponentially. So I don't know. This guy's probably just trying to one up the other guy. So we have, the other billionaire hedge fund manager, Mike Novogratz, who said that Bitcoin could easily reach $40,000 by the end of 2018. So for this guy to say $50,000, it's putting his name in the news. That's cool. Brings us this graphic. When are we going to update this to say a $20 bill and the date, and a $50 bill and the date? And then when Bitcoin reaches 100 billion? No. 100,000. When one Bitcoin is $100,000 per Bitcoin, then 1 millibit will be a $100 bill. Yeah. So right now, a millibit is $15.72. And when the price of Bitcoin is $100,000, then 1 millibit will be worth a $100 bill. And over on Instagram, we have this other photo up here for reference. So it's kind of cool that you know that this is over here. It's, this one right here. We have easy access to the Bitcoin race to the trillions. And so this says when the Bitcoin market cap reaches $1 trillion, the price per Bitcoin will be $60,000. And then that means 1 millibit would be $60. There's two images here. So when 1 Bitcoin is $100,000, $120,000. So before Bitcoin reaches $2 trillion, that's when we will hit $100,000 Bitcoin. Before we reach $2 trillion Bitcoin market cap, every Bitcoin will be worth over $100,000. Shout out to Venezuela. Petrocoin is state-backed. Oh, you're saying the Petro is coming from... Okay, oops. Yeah, well, still a shout out. Yeah. Cool. So, anything else anyone wants to talk about? Oh, the silver, yeah. Here's a holdout. So silver.com was accepting Bitcoin, and all those guys were accepting Bitcoin, and now AppMex is now accepting Bitcoin payments as well. Yeah, so if you want to buy silver, you can buy silver with or gold with Bitcoin. All right, guys, so I think we're going to be wrapping up this live stream for right now. Didn't see that tweet by Charlie Lee. Never ending. You're not entertained? Yeah, feel free to shoot me whatever the tweet is. Email us a tweet. Share with us. All right. All right, everyone. So we're gonna be wrapping this up. So yeah, I hope you know you consider checking out our Patreon page. Consider you know checking us out over on Discord. Come visit us over at Discord. Come visit us over at Patreon. Come visit us over at mintingcoins.com. Really appreciated hanging out with you guys. Really appreciated going all this news over this information. Feel free to like this video, to you know comment, you know, as you see these posts come up. And I suppose until next time, I'm glad that together we are minting coins.